Ostuni.
Mm-hmm.
Are we rolling?
Yep.
All right. Thank you for joining us. We are at the MicroReach mobile lab here in Telluride. This is 44th annual festival in Telluride, Colorado. And we're taking opportunities to talk to some of the people who are doing a lot of the work in the field. And today we're joined with Scott Ostuni. Scott is based in Florida. He works with a group called Fundus. Is that accurate? And I'm just going to let him maybe sort of give a brief, background bio, and then we'll dive into why you're here and why we're even talking. So,
Yeah, so what I currently do is I analyze DNA sequences of mushrooms, and this started back in 2019 when me and my friend found a new species of psilocybe in South Florida. And so we had questions about it, and I initially, I reached out to a couple of people to see if they knew what it was, what was going on, and Alan Rockefeller suggested that I get it DNA sequenced. And at the time, I just sort of like scratched my head, like, okay, well, how do I do that?
yeah.
Like, well, I didn't even fully understand what that meant. And so he kind of guided me through it, and so I did that, and eventually, over time, I confirmed that it was a novel species of psilocybe. But so that kind of opened the door to the thought, what else is out there that we don't know about? How many more undescribed species are there? So I started collecting pretty much every mushroom I could that I couldn't identify through like a field guide.
God bless you.
Yep.
Like Jesus.
And I started getting them DNA sequenced. And through this process, I had to teach myself what to do with the sequence data. Because what happens is I would get this, what's called a chromatogram back, which is a bunch of different colored peaks that corresponds with A, C, T, and G. And so I had to teach myself what to do with that. And then in 2023, I saw a job opportunity for Fundus, or the Fungal Diversity Survey, as a sequence validator. And I didn't know exactly what that entailed, but after reading the job description, it sounded kind of like what I was getting.
You were already doing it.
Yeah, I was
basically
already doing it. So I got hired, and then so I've been working with them for the last year and a half, as well as the Ohio Mushroom DNA Lab, which is another like community science lab that is accepting mushroom specimens from all around the country and even the world. And Stephen Russell with my Coda Lab. So right now I'm a sequence validator for all three labs. So I get to see mushrooms from all over the country,
Right.
all over the world, and I get to see these very precise identifications of each and every one of these mushrooms, which is great because it broadens my concept
Sure.
of a lot of genera.
Yeah.
And just like what certain genera can look like in different parts of the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let me ask you just on that same subject, and I have two threads I kind of want to follow. But from 2019, when you found that first mushroom that sort of like sparked the questions, to now, how have you seen the landscape in genetics or taxonomy or any of these things? I know it's transformed, but for our viewers, like, can you sort of quickly tell us, like, maybe the last 5 years?
Right. Well, really, in the last, I would say, like 2 to 3 years, it's changed a lot. So there's this database called GenBank, which is sort of the go-to database for DNA sequence, like reference DNA sequences. And over the last 2 to 3 years, these community labs between Mycota, Ohio Mushroom DNA Lab, and Fundus has produced more fungal sequences in the last 2 to 3 years than GenBank has had in the last 30.
Wow.
So, and they're all being imported into iNaturalist, the associated observations, so that anyone can look at this data and like learn and increase their literacy around this subject.
Yeah.
Which is great. And, that's part of the reason I really like this, because when I first started getting into mushrooms and foraging edible, medicinal, and psychoactive mushrooms, I had field guides, but field guides don't have everything. They miss most things. And so, I was usually lost with identification for a lot of things. But now with this extremely powerful tool, and like the access to the data and information, anyone can just like very quickly go from a novice to an expert. And I've seen this happen
Yeah.
in a matter of like, less,
12 months or whatever.
oh, like 2 to 3 months.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, yeah.
That's really cool. So the other thread I sort of wanted to pick up on, and then it'll take me to another maybe final thread, is the idea of self-teaching. I heard it come up for you as far as like you were curious, you didn't know what the tools were. Somebody sort of tasked you with it.
Right.
You know, hey, figure it out. I've experienced that a lot in my many years in this space. So what does it take to stay curious and to not get discouraged? Because, sort of the barrier for a lot of people is like even just a Latin binomial is enough to shut someone down from any like sort of, oh, okay, So how do you unpack that?
Shoot, that's kind of a tough question.
Oh. That's okay. I understand.
Yeah, staying curious. Well, for me, something that's really important to me is the ability to afford my own thoughts.
Yes.
And I have a lot of questions. I'm very curious about a lot of things, but particularly mushrooms. And so that's what keeps me going and keeps me like motivated. And sometimes, I feel like I kind of get out of touch with that, but then I come to a place like Telluride
and
Mushroom
get
Festival.
your tank filled up,
Yeah. I leave feeling like a loaded gun. It's great. And
cool.
I'm just like, I'm going to keep pushing and
right on.
keep doing this. Yeah, it just comes down to just having that natural curiosity. And
there's a way to figure it out,
Yeah.
right? Like just you'll figure it out.
Yeah,
right?
It definitely helps though to like find the others, like
Yes.
find the other mushroom freaks
100%.
and have an outlet.
Festivals,
Yeah.
Societies, associations.
Right.
Absolutely.
And it's great because now, we have all these, we have, what's it called? Social media. And, you have like Facebook identification groups and, there's mushroom clubs and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's really easy to get access
Yes.
to this sort of thing.
Yeah, just watch out for trolls.
Yeah.
That's the only bummer about those pages is
Yeah.
like there's so many people who are just so self-righteous. So if you could stay humble and continue your studies, I think it's important. I feel like I know a lot, but honestly, like when I'm sitting next to Scott, I'm like, I don't know anything, and I think that's probably a mutual feeling amongst most of the people here. So just dive in and stay curious, right?
Yeah.
And maybe the last sort of thread I wanted to touch on was the iNaturalist you mentioned. So yesterday we were on a hike together.
Mm-hmm.
We were at Lizard Head Pass. I saw you describing how to use iNaturalist. It's a powerful tool. I've heard of some really cool tools this week, but iNat seems to be the one that everyone really loves, and it's an app. It's crowdsourced. Just tell us a little bit about it, and so how would it be beneficial for a new person, or even somebody like myself who wants to start using it?
Right.
Like, how would we use it?
Yeah, so a lot of people are familiar with these like point and shoot apps where you can go up to say a flower and there'll be like a suggestion as far as what its identification
AI
is.
algorithm stuff.
Right. And a lot of them suck. But iNaturalist is great because not only does it suggest a potential identification, but it also geotags your observation and then it gets imported into the iNaturalist database. And so for someone who's like new, you can go into iNatch and you can filter by your state, your city, even a park, and then you can search up whatever organism you want to look for, whether it's a tree or an animal or a mushroom. And one of my favorite things to do in Florida is like just looking up mango trees and then stealing people's mangoes.
Yeah.
But anyway,
I love it.
On top of that,
That's amazing.
Yeah. You also have the functionality of other users coming into your observation and suggesting what it is you found.
That's my
so
favorite
even
part.
if you just know it's a mushroom and you leave it at Kingdom Fungi, someone else will come in and be like, hey, this is a hygroscopy, or maybe they'll even be able to get it to species level.
And then we could take that information and then sort of map where some of these genetics are in the world.
Yeah. And another great thing is, the more users we have and the more coverage throughout the country we have is we're going to find new things or like forgotten things. Yesterday, at the beginning of our foray, I mentioned that in 2022, I found this mushroom, Satharella albaniensis, that hadn't been collected in 46 years. And it was the last time it was found was in Colorado by Alexander Smith. But it was at a time where they didn't have iNaturalists, they weren't taking photos, they were just writing up descriptions of it. So I was able to get the first color photos of that species and document it on
man, what
iNaturalist.
a sweet thing.
Yeah, and then a year later, it was found again by this guy Bruce in Alaska.
Awesome.
And so now we have a new distribution. So it was originally found in Wyoming, then a little bit later by Smith in Colorado, and then 46 years later in Colorado, and now Alaska. So we know it's in Wyoming, Colorado, and Alaska. Now, I doubt those are the only states.
Right.
Because, you know,
There's a lot of states and land in between.
right. So the more people we have in these in between states, you know, documenting fungi, I'm sure we'll fill in that distribution gap, and it'll paint a more accurate picture of like where this thing occurs, what it occurs with,
Yeah.
and potentially give us insight into its ecological role.
Amazing, man. So we've been sort of asking this question to a lot of people, wondering, you know, if you didn't have Fundus, if you weren't sort of like man in a booth and like teaching this week, what would bring you to Telluride? I mean, I think I already know, but I want to know, like, from your own mouth, like, what makes you come back? What are you
Right.
excited about in 25 and, you know, down the road?
Byron's coming.
I mean, I really just enjoy talking to people and meeting new people, making new connections.
Yeah.
Because that's the only way I've gotten to where I'm at now. Is like I said earlier, find the others, find the other mushroom
Right.
people, and a place like this is a great place to do that.
Yeah.
It's arguably the best place.
Yeah,
to do that.
we met here, I think, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now we're just like straight homies, you know?
Absolutely.
So if you want to share any like socials or, you know, plug Fundus or, you know, talk about, you know, any exciting things or you know, let us know, you know, what's
I mean,
up.
I have an Instagram and a Facebook, and in both cases, it's just my first and last name, Scott Ostuni. Ostuni spelled Ostuni. Fundus, or the Fungal Diversity Survey, they have a Facebook and Instagram page. Ohio Mushroom DNA Lab does. I'm also a member of an organization called Entheome, or the Entheogen Genome Project.
We talked about that yesterday. I
Right.
want to know more about that.
So
someday.
we are doing full genome sequencing, hopefully on every psychoactive organism on the planet, and we're starting with fungi. And right now we have somewhere between 20 and 30 full genomes of different psilocybin-containing species of mushrooms, and we're making all the data public, so anyone can go in and like play with this full genome data. We have an Instagram as well. Entheome's a little more low-key than the other ones.
Yeah, sure.
But
Kind of riding a little bit below the radar, but
Yeah.
doing really important work, it sounds like.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
before we know it, you know, a fear of mine in the mushroom space and in the psychedelic space is that the same thing that happened with cannabis will happen
Right.
there. So stay tuned, right? I guess.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah.
Sweet.
So yeah, that's where you can find me and the associated.
Great.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Any last thoughts?
Find the others.
Yeah,
Go
find
find
the others.
mushroom freaks.
Yeah. Spread spores.
Yeah.
Find other spores.
Another thing, and going back to what drives me and keeps me curious is, like, you know, I mentioned the ability to afford my own thoughts. So, you know, that's really important. And, you know, when I initially thought about this concept, I thought about it through the lens of financially being able to afford your thoughts.
Yeah.
But through community, you can afford a lot more of your thoughts.
Yeah.
'Cause, you know, especially if you're novice and you don't know anything about mushrooms, but you want to know what, you know, toadstools are popping up in your yard. You can go to the field guide and, you know, bang your head against the desk or table.
Or you can find others.
Or you can find the others and find the community, and through that you can just like exponentially like answer the questions you have.
That's beautiful, man.
Yeah.
Thank you. Scott Ostuni, joining us today at Telluride. We super appreciate meeting you, hanging out, getting to know you. Thanks for joining us. I hope you have a great fest, man.
Thank
We'll
you.
see you tonight. Do you have a costume idea?
No.
Yeah, me neither. Yeah.
Two things. One, what size t-shirt do you wear? And two, shit mic placement. Fix that next time.
Okay, fine.
It fell down.
Oh,
and you were pointing away.
Oh shit. Okay, well, sorry. Good call.
I'm a medium.
Put it on the hat. Like right here's fine.
All right.
I know it's
And
annoying.
does Rebecca want to talk real quick?
She's actually you're gonna give you the mic. I'll take the mic.
Oh, great.
But what
Give it to her.
size t-shirt? Yeah, her and Jorge.
Medium.
Yeah.
Medium.
Sweet.
And then you're gonna use your camera because I'm gonna have to balance.
Okay. Thanks, man.